My next patron question is from Trevon, who wanted to know if it would be best for Disney to rebrand 20th Century Fox to Touchstone Pictures rather than half-heartedly keeping the 20th Century brand alive. So when Disney retired Touchstone in 2016, it seemed like they would not be producing any more movies that were not either family-aimed, Marvel, or Star Wars. It felt like the end of an era, even though the writing was on the wall for a while, as Bob Iger made clear what his future plans for Disney were. But then they acquired 20th Century Fox, which did make a variety of movies, and 5 years since the acquisition, 20th Century is still producing that variety, even if the number of productions has gone down. Even though Disney is not making the same number of films they were in the 90s, what they are producing under their acquired studios does feel like a throwback to that time. The 20th Century films are like Touchstone, Searchlight Pictures function similar to Miramax, and the movies go to Hulu will be the equivalent of Hollywood Pictures. Do I think it's a shame that Touchstone is no longer being used by Disney? I do have a nostalgic affection for it, and was absolutely disappointed when it became clear the label would be retired. There was even a brief period when it was announced Touchstone Television would be revived, but those plans were then cancelled. It is such an important part of Disney history and should not have been thrown away. But it seems like they are now content with using 20th Century Studios as their label to release non-family films and keep certain franchises from that studio alive, like Planet of the Apes and Alien. Although one curious decision they've made is taken former Fox series and started releasing new movies under the Disney name, like the recent Night in the Museum, Cheaper by the Dozen, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. Seeing the castle logo at the start of the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild was especially surreal, although this does beg the question of what would happen if a Touchstone movie was given a remake or sequel. Would that be released under Disney or 20th Century? A new movie in the Father the Bride series and remakes of Splash and Three Men and a Baby were announced a while back, but I assume they will likely go under the Disney name these days. But what about a remake of an R-rated movie like Pretty Woman? Would that be moved to 20th Century Studios? Ditto if a sequel to The Rock was put into development. Now back to Trevon's question, should Touchstone be brought back and used again instead of 20th Century? While it would be nice to see Touchstone used again in some way, I would not want to see it used as a replacement for 20th Century. That's a legendary studio, and I would just be sad to see that thrown in the bin. I could even see a scenario where 20th Century and Searchlight help Disney return to their top status by taking a chance on projects that excite audiences rather than merely relying on the studio's IP. Look at how successful Poor Things turned out to be. This is a movie that never in a million years would have been greenlit under the regular Disney leadership or even Touchstone back in the day. However, owing to how well the director's previous film The Favourite did, Searchlight Pictures decided to make Poor Things, a wild sex comedy that borders pretty close to NC-17. The result was a multiple Oscar winner and a film that made $117 million at the box office on a $35 million budget. Searchlight has another daring movie titled Night Bitch, currently scheduled for December. Directed by Mariel Heller, who made A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, it stars Amy Adams as a mother who is possibly turning into a dog. Yes, that is the premise, and if the film turns out well, it could become another Poor Things type success for Searchlight and Disney. In what way could Touchstone be used now? Well, back when they were frequently using the label, movies like Dick Tracy and Who Framed Roger Rabbit were moved from Walt Disney Pictures to Touchstone Pictures. That could be something Disney might consider doing to a project under development, like those Splash and Three Men and a Baby remakes I mentioned. They could even reuse the original logo rather than the one from the 2000s as a neat throwback. Maybe Young Woman in the Sea could have been a Touchstone release, and it's possible they would have put it into more theaters as a result. There's an adaptation of Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book in development at Disney, with Mark Forster set to direct. Maybe that could be a Touchstone movie. It was also announced a few years ago that Disney was going to produce a film adaptation of the musical The 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Some musical fans were surprised at that, considering the material in the musical. So, same deal there? But at the moment, it does not seem like Disney will be bringing back Touchstone, and considering how much they've already downsized 20th Century Studios, I'd prefer they did not continue to do that and kept it as their mature film label. Thank you for your question, Trevon.